Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring fear.
Ooh,
And we're lucky enough to have an expert on Thich Nhat Hanh's fear, essential wisdom for getting through the storm with us today.
wonderful to be here.
It feels really relevant right now with everything going on in the world.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, everywhere you turn, there's something to be afraid of.
Fear is a constant companion, it seems like, for many of us these days.
Yeah.
But what if instead of running from it, we can try to understand it?
Okay.
Maybe even transform it into something helpful.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So Thich Nhat Hanh, he takes us back to the room to explain this.
Yeah,
He suggests that we enter the world with something that he calls original fear.
right.
It's kind of a powerful concept, imagining that first experience of vulnerability.
It's a very visceral image that he paints.
Hmm.
Leaving the warmth and safety of the womb,
Yeah.
suddenly facing cold and hunger, the struggle for that first breath.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder how much of our adult anxieties are really just echoes of that primal experience.
It really does make you think. And I mean, so much of what we fear as adults really boils down to, those basic needs.
Right.
Survival, security, connection.
Yeah.
Is he suggesting that we never really escape that initial fear?
Not escape, perhaps, but we can learn to understand its roots
Okay.
and work with it more skillfully.
Okay.
He also suggests that our fears aren't only our own.
Okay.
We inherit anxieties from our ancestors, too.
Hmm.
So we carry their struggles for survival within us as well.
So we're not just dealing with our own personal fears, but those passed down through generations.
Exactly.
Wow, it's like this collective anxiety.
Yeah, it's a collective anxiety we're all grappling with.
Yeah, we're all grappling with.
Yeah, and that makes it even more important to understand the nature of fear,
Right.
to see it clearly.
Yeah.
Thich Nhat Hanh tells a story about a young man who couldn't express his love for his deceased father because of unresolved childhood fear.
Wow.
And this fear wasn't just about the father,
Okay.
but about a whole lineage of unexpressed emotion.
It's amazing how these seemingly personal fears can have such deep roots.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your experience, how common is it for people to discover these connections between their fears and their family history?
I would say it's incredibly common.
Okay.
Once we start to look beneath the surface of our anxieties, we find these threads connecting us to past experiences, even ones we haven't personally lived through.
Right.
It's like uncovering a hidden story within ourselves.
That's fascinating. So once we start to understand these origins of fear, both personal and inherited, where do we go from there?
Well, Thich Nhat Hanh introduces these 5 remembrances to help us.
Okay.
And these remembrances aren't about dwelling in negativity,
Okay.
but about facing reality with courage and clarity so we can move forward with more freedom.
Okay.
So the first one is, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. It is a powerful reminder of the impermanence of our physical form.
Yeah, we all know we're going to age, but how often do we actually stop and consider what that means?
Yeah.
It's like we try to avoid thinking about it as if we could outrun time.
Right.
Yeah.
But by acknowledging the inevitability of aging, we can start to appreciate the preciousness of each moment and the vitality we have right now.
It seems counterintuitive,
It does.
but facing our fear of aging might actually help us embrace life more fully.
That's the paradox.
Yeah.
The second remembrance, I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health, is equally challenging. But again, by acknowledging the possibility of illness,
Yeah.
we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for the health we have today.
It's so easy to take our health for granted
It really is,
until it's threatened.
until it's threatened.
Yeah, so these remembrances are almost like wake-up calls
They are.
to urge us to pay attention to what really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the most difficult remembrance of all.
Okay.
I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. This one can be very difficult to face.
Yeah.
But Thich Nhat Hanh encourages us to see it not as an ending,
Okay.
but as an invitation to live more fully, more consciously.
That's a profound shift in perspective.
It is.
He's suggesting that our fear of death might actually hold the key to a more meaningful life.
Precisely by acknowledging our mortality, we can let go of trivial worries and focus on what truly matters.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly seeing life in high definition.
Yeah. So it's almost like by accepting those things we can't control,
Right.
like aging and illness and eventually death,
Yeah.
we actually gain more control over how we live our lives.
It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it? And it leads us to the next 2 remembrances,
Okay.
which focus on our relationships and our actions.
Okay.
The fourth remembrance is, All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There's no way to escape being separated from them.
This one hits close to home, I think, for a lot of us.
It
The
does.
fear of losing loved ones, of
Right.
experiencing heartbreak and separation. It's
Yeah.
something we all grapple with.
Yes, it can be incredibly painful,
Yeah.
but Thich Nhat Hanh encourages us to see this not as a reason to withdraw from love,
Okay.
but rather as a call to cherish our connections even more deeply,
Mm.
to appreciate the present moment with those we care about.
Yeah, because we never know how long we'll have them.
Right.
Right. It makes you want to put down your phone and really be present with the people you love.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then finally, we have the remembrance of karma. I inherit the results of my acts of body, speech, and mind. My actions are my continuation.
Okay.
This one shifts the focus to our responsibility for our choices and our actions.
So it's not just about what happens to us,
Right.
but also about how we choose to move through the world,
Yeah,
how we impact others.
exactly.
It seems like he's weaving ethics into the conversation about fear.
Our actions have consequences,
Yeah.
not just for ourselves,
Right.
but for those around us.
Yeah.
Recognizing this can be a really powerful antidote to fear because it reminds us we have agency. We can choose to act in ways that create more peace and less suffering.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how these 5 remembrances, even though they deal with heavy topics,
Right.
can actually be quite empowering.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed by these anxieties,
Yeah.
we can use them as reminders to live more fully,
Right.
more consciously.
That's exactly the point.
Okay.
And it leads us to one of Thich Nhat Hanh's most profound teachings.
Okay.
The concept of no birth and no death.
Okay.
It can be a challenging concept to grasp,
Yeah.
but it has the potential to transform our entire relationship with fear.
I have to admit, this is one I'm still wrapping my head around.
It's a big one.
How can there be no birth and no death?
Right.
Don't we all experience coming into being and eventually passing away?
We do, but Thich Nhat Hanh invites us to consider a different perspective.
Okay.
He uses the analogy of a wave and water.
Okay.
The wave represents our individual lifespan with its beginning and end.
Okay.
But the water, which is always present, represents the interconnectedness of all life.
So even though the wave appears and disappears,
Right.
the water it's made of continues to exist in a different form.
Exactly.
It's like the wave isn't really born or dying, it's just changing form.
That's it.
Okay.
And Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that we as individuals are like waves.
Mm-hmm.
We have a beginning and an end to our physical form,
Yeah.
but our essence, our energy,
Right.
continues to flow within the vast ocean of life.
I see where this connects to the idea of inheriting our ancestors' fears.
Yeah.
If we're all part of this interconnected web of life, then it makes sense that we would carry traces of those who came before us
Right.
and those who will come after.
It doesn't. And it can be incredibly comforting
Yeah.
to realize that we're not just isolated individuals,
Right.
but part of something much larger than ourselves.
It reminds me of that story he tells about feeling his mother's presence in the moonlight after she passed away.
Yeah.
He realized that her essence hadn't disappeared but continued in different forms.
Beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful illustration of how understanding no birth and no death can transform our grief into a deeper understanding of interconnectedness. It doesn't negate the pain of loss,
Right.
but it offers a different way of relating to it.
So if we can shift our perspective from seeing death as an ending to seeing it as a transformation,
Right.
could that help us to be less afraid of it?
It certainly can. And it can also help us to be less afraid of life
Okay.
because we realize that even the difficult experiences,
Right.
the losses, the heartbreaks,
Yeah.
they're all part of this larger flow of being.
That's a profound way of looking at things.
It is.
But how do we actually integrate this understanding into our daily lives?
Right.
Especially when we're faced with those very real, very visceral fears
Yeah.
that threaten to overwhelm us.
That's where the practice of mindfulness comes in.
Okay.
Thich Nhat sees mindfulness as the antidote to fear,
Hmm.
not in the sense of pushing it away,
Okay.
but of embracing it with gentle awareness.
So instead of trying to fight our fears, we learn to acknowledge them,
Right.
to sit with them, to understand them.
Exactly. He uses the metaphor of a tree in a storm.
Hmm.
When we're overwhelmed by strong emotions, it's like our minds are trees,
Okay.
with branches swaying wildly in the wind.
Yeah.
But if we can shift our attention to that solid trunk,
Yeah.
the breath,
Right.
we can find stability.
It's about finding that center within ourselves,
Yeah.
that place of calm amidst the chaos.
Exactly.
And that's something I struggle with, to be honest.
It's hard.
My mind tends to race when I'm feeling anxious.
Yeah.
How do we actually cultivate that mindfulness, that ability to stay grounded in the midst of the storm?
It takes practice, of course, but Thich Nhat Hanh offers some beautifully simple yet powerful techniques
Okay.
that anyone can use. He even calls mindfulness a safe island
Hmm.
that we can access anytime through our breath.
That image of a safe island is so comforting.
It is.
Yeah, it makes mindfulness seem less like this esoteric practice and more like something tangible, accessible.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to access that safe island.
Okay.
One of the simplest is to just bring your attention to your breath,
Mm.
noticing the rise and fall of your chest or belly as you breathe in and out.
Yeah.
You can even add a gentle phrase to your breath like, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I release tension.
I love that it's like a little mantra you can repeat to yourself.
It is.
Yeah, whenever you feel those waves of anxiety starting to rise.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more easily you'll be able to access that sense of calm and presence,
Mm.
even in the midst of challenging situations.
It sounds like cultivating mindfulness is an ongoing process.
It is.
Yeah, a journey rather than a destination.
Right.
And it's a journey that can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our
Yeah.
fears, and our place in the world.
It is. It's a journey worth taking.
Yeah.
Because on the other side of fear,
Mm-hmm.
there's not just the absence of anxiety,
Right.
but a greater capacity for love, compassion, and joy.
Well, before we dive into some more specific techniques, let's take a quick break. We'll be back soon with more insights from Fear, Essential Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm. We're back and ready to explore some more of Thich Nhat Hanh's practical techniques for working with fear.
Okay.
You know, one thing that really struck me about his approach
Mm.
is that it's not about ignoring or suppressing fear, but actually turning toward it
Right?
with this mindful awareness.
Yeah. He even suggests picturing fear as a crying baby.
A crying baby.
You wouldn't ignore a crying baby, would you?
Of course not. You would try to understand what was wrong.
Right.
Comfort them.
Soothe them.
Yeah.
It's the same with our own fear. Instead of pushing it away or pretending it's not there,
Right.
we can try to meet it with that same kind of care and attention.
So how do we do that? How do we actually practice this mindfulness when fear shows up?
One technique is deceptively simple.
Okay.
Bring your attention to your breath and gently say to yourself, breathing in, I know fear is here. Breathing out, I embrace fear.
Wow. It feels almost counterintuitive to embrace something that feels so uncomfortable.
I know.
Is that about accepting the fear?
Yeah,
Letting it be there without letting it take over?
exactly. It's about creating space for the fear,
Okay.
recognizing that we're bigger than our fear.
Mm-hmm.
We can hold it with compassion
Yeah,
rather than being consumed by it.
that makes sense. He also talks about the importance of taking care of our bodies
He does.
as a way to work with fear.
Absolutely. He leads some beautiful, deep relaxation practices where you systematically bring awareness and relaxation to each part of your body. Starting with your toes, moving up through your legs, torso, arms, all the way to the top of your head.
Yeah, I can see how powerful that could be when my body feels tense and stressed.
Right.
My mind usually follows suit.
Yeah.
It's like releasing the physical tension can help create space for mental peace.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our minds and bodies are interconnected.
You know, one thing that really struck me about Thich Nhat Hanh's approach is that he doesn't frame this as a solitary journey. He emphasizes the importance of community,
Yes.
what he calls sangha.
Right. That's so crucial. We don't have to face our fears alone.
Right.
Having a community of people who understand what we're going through can be incredibly supportive.
It's like having a safety net,
Yeah.
knowing that there are people we can reach out to when we're struggling.
Exactly.
People who can offer a listening ear, a kind word, a different perspective.
And sometimes just knowing that others share similar fears can be a source of comfort too.
Yeah,
It reminds us that we're not alone in this human experience.
that's so true. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and I want to thank you for guiding us through this exploration of fear.
It's been my pleasure.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for navigating those inevitable storms that life throws our way.
Good.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. I hope you found this exploration as insightful as I have.
Me too.
Maybe the next time you encounter fear, instead of turning away, you'll feel a little more equipped to turn towards it with curiosity and compassion.
That's beautiful.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Did you get any of that?